Alright guys, I figured I'd do another video on this truck and basically start the new series on this truck since we've started messing with it now. I'm going to go over what the truck is for those who haven't watched my video before this one. This is a 70 f100 short bed factory, 3-speed on the column with 302. So it's the first year of the 302. I bought it in Shady Point, Oklahoma. It's about a 4.5 hour drive from where I'm at in Missouri. My in-laws hauled it home for me. Me and my wife and my in-laws went to get it. It was a pretty fun trip, but I only paid $1,500 for this truck, and it's not necessarily in bad shape. I mean, it needs a little body work. About all these trucks need floor pans. The thing that really surprised me was how good the cab mounts are on this. They're basically so good that I'm not even going to mess with them, and the bushings on the body. So for now, my plans are I'm just going to get it running good, make it basically kind of a hot rod truck for now until I can paint it. My plans on this one are I'm doing a Tremec TKO 600 5-speed swap in it. I'm currently saving up the money for that, and I'm putting a 351 Windsor out of a 95 F150 in it, so it'll be a factory roller motor. I'll kind of go over what I've done to the truck now since I've got it. The first thing I did was I put a new key ignition and key in it because it didn't come with a key, and I wasn't getting no crankage, so I come back behind here in the glove box, and basically, you guys ain't gonna be able to see that, but basically a mouse chewed through all that wiring, the main harness running through the firewall. So I got all that working, got the truck to crank. I put a positive and negative battery cable on it, threw a battery in it, put a spark plug wire on it, and hooked up the hooked up to the distributor to a coil. The engine did pop off, fuel pump worked, has compression, everything seemed good, but the only thing is I couldn't get no fuel pumping in from the carburetor. I gave it a few whacks on the metering block, and it's just, there was no fuel pump in from the accelerator pump. So it's a Holley carburetor, older Holley, but I'm gonna try to find just a cheap carburetor to throw on it, maybe here in a couple weeks, and just get the motor running, kind of have a video of it running. I don't think I'll ever do anything with this engine. I'll keep it just in case. I was told this is a 289 out of a 66 Thunderbird, but the thing throwing me off is it does have 302 heads. It would be kind of cool if this was the factory engine for this truck, but I highly doubt it, because I don't know why someone would take another thing that's throwing me off is it's got a 60s model intake on it. So it's kind of, it could be whatever. The only way to tell would be to look on the back of the bell housing. So that's kind of another thing I did before I forget is I had to ground I wasn't getting no cranking on the key, and I took a negative battery jumper cable and put it from the block to the frame, because you got to have grounds from your battery to your frame, and you got to have a ground from the engine to the frame, and a lot of people put the one for the engine on the body as well. So that's kind of something to keep in mind if you got an old truck that won't start. Someone chopped the 4-speed granny low into this thing. That's going to come out. My plans are to put a TKO 600 5-speed in it. I've talked to a training shop about doing that for me. That's probably about the only thing I'll have anybody do. I just don't really feel like paying $2,500 for a transmission and then not putting it in the right way, and trying, because I'm going to try to use my linkage clutch setup and put a linkage style clutch system in it. They seem to be pretty reliable. I'm trying to think of anything else. I did do a little floor pan work, and I'm really not proud of it. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm teaching myself how to weld and just thought I'd tackle this and put that in, but it did not turn out good at all. So don't judge my welding skills. They're not good, and I know that. I don't need anybody to tell me that. I think I'll be able to fix it. I blew some holes through it, and it just don't look good. But I'll fix that, and I'm sure the passenger side will look a lot better once I figure out what I'm doing here. But I figured a floor pan would probably be a good deal to practice on, because it don't really matter what it looks like as long as it's nice and sturdy and closed up. So, and my personal preference. But I'm gonna fix what needs fixed, like the floor pans and the wiring and everything. Everything will be mechanically sound, and I will fix the floor pans. Get the interior all done, and then I'm basically going to leave it looking like this for a while after I get it running and driving. Disc brakes, I'm going to order a disc brake conversion for it here in probably a month or so. It just takes money, and it's going to take time. So, but yep, disc brakes. It'll have a 5-speed with a 351. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the engine yet. The engine's actually right here. I bought it out of a scrap yard, and I'm really not, I thought it would be a lot cleaner than this, but if you guys know anything about engines, I mean, being that there is a lot of kind of oil buildup and carbon, there's a lot of carbon on top of these pistons. I'm guessing this was a higher mileage engine, and also the EGR valve may have been bad on this engine, because this side of the head has quite a bit of sludge on it, and this is where the EGR valve ran to from the valve cover, or the PCV or whatever that system. It's goofy on these. So one thing that I was happy to see was the wear ring on the cylinders, not that bad. I'm rebuilding the 305 for my buddy, and his was about to where it needed board 30 over. But this one here, it's going to need honed for sure. I wouldn't think it'd need board, but I'm going to go ahead and do that anyway. So I'm going to disassemble this whole thing, and that ain't that big of a deal to me. I can put one of these together. It's just getting it to the machine shop and paying for all the work. But my plans for this was electric fuel pump setup. Probably keep the tank behind the seat for now. I'm gonna have to pull it out, clean it out sometime. But do that. Junk these heads probably, or just save them for something else. I doubt I'll ever use them. But probably 30 over block, just with some regular stock pistons, stock style pistons. It'll need bigger pistons, new rings, and all new bearings, bottom end. Keep my stock piston rods, and if they're any good. Have the block cleaned, cam bearings, freeze plugs. I'll have a bigger cam. I'm going to try to go pretty big on this one. The red truck over here has a 525 by a 539 lift with a 110 lobe separation angle, and I'd like to go bigger than that. But to where I'll still have brakes for my brake booster and everything. But it should be a pretty good runner. I'm going to do some AFR aluminum heads. I'm not really sure on the CCs I'm going to do, but I'm shooting for 400 horse. I think that'd be plenty for this truck. Be a nice cruiser, and it'll get out of its own way if it needs to. Smoke the tires or whatever I want to do. So that's the plan for this one. Also, I want to do an air conditioning system. And then the body work and the paint will probably be one of the last things I do for the whole thing. So but that's basically what I've been doing on it. I figured I'd keep you guys updated. The next steps are going to kind of depend on what I'm doing with the engine. If I'm going to just use the engine for a little while I save up for the 5-speed, I'll buy a cheap carb and put on it and use it. But I also need to get this engine to the machine shop, so it's just I can't really make up my mind on what I want to do right now. But if it does get to where I just want to yank the motor out and be done with it, I'm going to pull this front clip off, because there's literally like 8 bolts that hold this thing on, I believe. These are really simple to take apart. So take it out and power wash it and paint it on the inside. But it's going to be a project for sure, but I figured I'd just give you guys a little update and kind of start the restoration process. So thanks for watching.